You are tuned in to your dose of positivity. I am Marlene Motivates, and as I always say, just know it, just breathe it, and be it, and live your best life.
Be encouraged, be inspired, be yourself, you will survive. Just know it, just breathe it, and be it, and live your best life.
And to gain further support, join my channel membership. Okay, as you guys can see, I am having issues with the computer, with my phone, with everything today. So, okay, that's much better. Hey guys, it's Marlene. I am the content creator for Marlene Motivates. And on this channel, I talk about inspiration, positivity, life lessons, all of that. So I welcome you to this channel. If you are new, subscribe to this channel. I love to have you over here as a part of the Motivators family. So I'm going to go to the chat. If you have not already, can you guys please hit the like? I'd really appreciate it. All right. All right. We're going. Yes. So first in, actually, Aubrey podcast. How are you doing, actually, Aubrey? Welcome in. Thank you so much for being here. And we have Puzzle Pieces. How are you doing, Puzzle Pieces? This is a struggle stream. I see. It's going to be a struggle stream today, but it's okay. It's all good. I'm continuing on. I'm not giving up. Hey, Tamika, how are you doing? Welcome in. Let me see if I move my camera, if it will be any better. I think that's better. Yeah, we're going to keep it there. How are you doing, Tamika? Hey, James, how are you doing? Happy Friday to you and everybody else that is here. I really do appreciate you being here. So, yeah, after much Wi-Fi issues, I am here, guys. Happy Friday to everybody. I put the link in the chat. I really don't have much prepared today, but I definitely wanted to talk about this topic last week when I was live last Friday. You know that Fridays we usually talk about relationships or dating on Fridays, but I feel like this was going to be a good subject to talk about because there are so many children that are a product of, um, you know, multiracial relationships, and the children, of course, are biracial. So, I wanted to talk about this for a little bit. Hi, Miss Patty. How are you doing? Welcome. Good to see you. Ugh, I'm telling you, StreamYard is out to get you all. I'm telling you, but I'm pushing through, y'all. I had to I put the set it for 3 o'clock, then I had to put it to 3:10, 3:15 because it just would not let me come into my own stream. But we're here. We're moving past that. We're gonna keep it positive. All right. So today, everybody, we're talking about biracial children and the treatment of the children, the acceptance. And I really wanted to cover this because we talked last week about, having, you know, dating interracially. We're not saying international, interracial dating. And today I wanted to talk about, the product of that interracial relationship. Okay. And it can be very frustrating, not only for the children, but also for family members, because let's just be 100% honest. Just because certain laws have passed does not mean that people have stopped being prejudiced. People have stopped being racist. You know, people will never stop making judgments of others, especially children. Children are completely innocent. No child asked to be here. One day you're just born and you look like how you look. Hey, Nate, how are you doing? Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to all my members. Shout out to all my mods. Thank you all so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. Yeah, I wanted to talk about, the product of an interracial relationship. And I think it's so important to talk about it because um, we usually say that there are choices for who people date. There's choices for, for that. Each person as an adult has to choose who they want to be with, right? But also, we also have to think about now when children are born into this world, how are they treated? And are they being accepted and loved the way that they deserve to be? All right. So, first off, I want to talk about the acceptance of these children of biracial. And biracial could be anybody. It could be a white parent and a black parent. It could be white and Latina. It could be, African. It could be, Swedish. It could be whatever culture and race, just a product of two cultures that are different from each other. So when these children are born, the first people to accept them, of course, would be the parents. Then it would be, the both families on both sides, the relatives, they're the father's parents and siblings and cousins, and then the mother's siblings and cousins. And I have to say that, growing up where I grew up, it was not always an acceptable thing. Like it was not always accepted. Like when it would be, if it was a person like the mother is African American and she marries or dates a Caucasian person, they have a child. It's not always accepted. That child is not always accepted by the family members on both sides. On I found that from the African American side of the family, they will want to say, like, why didn't you stay in your race? The same thing can go on from the Caucasian side of the family. They're not very happy that, that the child is a mixed child, like their grandchild is a mixed child. But I'm more from the perspective that, is the child healthy? Is the child happy? Is the child well taken care of by the parents? Like, I feel people focus too much on foolishness. They focus on things that they don't need to focus on, like, being in the business of the parents, who the parents dated, and what a child looks like, and how the hair of the children look, and the skin color. All of that's not within a choice. It's just, you're born, you have a certain skin color, your hair comes out a different way. But at the end of the day, these children are human beings. These children are human beings, and none of them asked to be here. And as adults, we have to stop treating children in a different way, because one may be lighter and the other one may be darker. And I've seen it on both sides, also adding into this colorism, because colorism happens within the race. Within my race as an African American, I've seen that some that are lighter skinned gets a different treatment than those who are darker skinned. And it's the same thing. It's the same thing. They're still either a girl or a boy. They still have feelings. They still, need the same love, affection, and attention. It just doesn't make any sense. Yes, Miss Patty, it is so crazy. But, some people are old school. And there's nothing wrong with it. You can't help the way that you grew up. But just because you grow up a certain way, it does not make it right. And that's something that I also had to think for myself too. I'm going to be 100% honest. Within my own race, I've seen my own race look at somebody who is a darker skin like they're not as good as a person who is lighter skin. So colorism is an issue. Being a biracial can be an issue, and it automatically goes to be like a person who is lighter skin is better than a person who is darker skin. It's really strange, and it's just a weird thing. It's not normal for anybody to treat anybody differently. It's not normal to feel unaccepted. Everybody wants to feel accepted. Everyone wants to feel loved. And going back on my topic, talking about, biracial children and the way that they are treated. So, of course, like I said in the beginning, no child asked to be here. One day you're just born. You look how you look. You have the parents that you have, and that's just how it is at the end of the day. So let's first talk about the acceptance of these children, these beautiful children that did not ask to be here. We could treat children better. And it's on both sides, especially when it's um, like one side of the family is one race, one side of the family is another race. First, it has to start with the adults on both sides respecting each other, respecting that neither is better and neither is worse. We are just human beings, and we're here blended together to be here to love these children that are here, that are born, and we can take good care of them. And we can show, even sometimes it takes the younger generation, not like myself, because I'm not young per se. I'm not like a person who is in my teens, but I'm also old enough to see when things started to change. I remember being in my teens and seeing where it started to be more acceptable to do um, interracial dating. So, with that, there has to be someone to stand up and say, we have to treat all children within a family the same, whether the children are lighter skin or darker skin. They are a part of this family and we love them. That's what needs to be said more and more. But it has to start with the adults treating all the children the same, not buying gifts and clothes and things for some in the family and don't buy for the other, or accepting certain things, or setting up college funds and setting up various things, and letting kids go on trips and vacations, and letting the other children stay at home. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen within my own family. It's like the younger, the not the younger, the lighter skin children get to relax, not really have to do much of the work. And like the darker skin children would be the ones to be like the servants, cleaning up after the other ones. So it's like, with even within the family there is like classes. And I don't like it because I've seen it many a times. I've seen it working in the healthcare field. I've seen it within families. I've seen it all over. I've even seen it just out in the street, like two different children, and they're getting two different treatments. And it's so unfair. Think about if you were that child, how would you feel? Miss Patty says prejudices among our own. So very sad. It really is. Yes, Miss Patty. Yes, even in the church, I've seen it as well. I've seen it in church too. Um, Different lighter skin gets a different treatment than a darker skin, and I'm not just saying in the African American communities. I'm also speaking of different races that I've seen. Like I've seen Indians, I've seen Oriental or Asian. I've seen many races get colorism treatments because one is a lighter skin and the other is a darker skin. But whatever is the race, if um, adults or even children, if they are born of a certain race, there should not be a different treatment. Every single human being should be treated the same. And I know that it's based on the mentality of whoever is involved within the family, within the school system, because that's something that I want to go into too, that you have to be on how the children in your family are treated. You have to pay attention that the I've seen it because within my family, even though we are all in my family African American, within my siblings, I have some of my younger siblings are fairer skin, and the as we down the line we got darker skin, and we got a different treatment than they got. So it's that too. You have to pay attention to make sure your children, whether it's your nieces, your nephews, your cousins, your brothers and sisters, uh, friends of the family, associates, whoever it is, treat children well. Don't treat one child differently because of a darker skin, and then another one that's fair, give them more opportunities. That's not how we want to treat the children. um, it's not a good feeling. I've been there. Not that I'm not biracial, but I got treated in the colorism, got a treatment from my own race because my skin was darker than my other siblings, and it happens all the time. Hi Tex Lala, how you doing? Happy Friday. I've never seen it. Sometimes in families, at least, it could be due to the resources in each individual family. Yeah, it is resources, but I've seen within own family that there will be some, and they will get the finer things, like say you have a spread of food on the table. certain, lighter skin will get the better portion of the meat, or they get the first choice of what they want. And then the darker skinned children have to wait until they get theirs first. So, they get more priority. And I know what that feels like. You get different treatment because of the color of your skin. And it's not something that is said, out loud. They're not saying, I love one child more than the other, but that's how it feels, being a child, because I've experienced it. Hey, Miss B, how are you doing? Welcome. Good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. I put the link in the chat above. Anybody who is open to come in and share their thoughts, you are welcome to hop on. Yeah, it is. It's so sad, because I've not only experienced it, I've also seen, nieces and nephews and cousins treated two different, completely different ways, like they are not blood related. And it's just a matter of one person's skin being lighter and the other one being darker. But there is privilege. Honestly, a lot of people don't want to admit it, but there is privilege within the race. Some just feel that a lighter skin, it is prettier, it's better, they deserve more, and it's terrible that it's happening on a day-to-day basis. Miss Patty says children are not responsible for their appearance. People have this thing about long hair as opposed to short hair, good hair and nappy hair. For some people, oh, as some people say, crazy, ignorant stuff. Yeah, it's based on what they personally believe about themselves. Everything is projection. Well, let's welcome Miss Nexie to the show.
Hello, Marlene.
Hi, Nexie. How are you
Hello,
doing?
chat. I'm doing good. Doing good. Great topic,
Thank
as
you.
always. Um, you, the funny thing, Marlene, is um, people don't understand, the depth of damage that we do when we bring race, skin color, eye color, height, weight into a child's mind, because children are like blank pieces of paper. You can write an amazing upbringing into it, or you can write the worst upbringing and destroy the child's entire future. We need to remember, we need to be mindful of that. Children have nothing to do with the differences between the grown-ups, or the so-called grown-ups, right? A lot
Yeah.
of people discriminate, put labels on children without thinking, the repercussions that come from doing things like that. As far as, these pains are everlasting. They don't go away because they grow up and they get more secure or whatever. These are pains that stay, with them and then grow up with them. So we need to learn to um, keep our thoughts to ourselves, regardless of what we think or don't think about that child. You know what I mean? It has nothing to do with, we don't have to be always voicing our opinions, especially in front of children. We have to be very careful, and I think that's the problem with a lot of people. Yeah, we all have different skin colors, and yeah, interracial relationships, different skin colors, and different looks, like I said before, it's gonna happen. That's not something that, when people love each other, they don't care, what their skin color is. um and of course, as you're doing this, you're not thinking, I'm marrying an African American man, or a
Yep.
black man, I'm marrying a Latina, and we're gonna have children that are going to be treated poorly or different, or you don't think
Mhm.
like that. You're bringing children into the world, because you love each other or whatever it is, the relationship you have, married, not married, it doesn't matter. You're bringing children into this world, not for them to be treated any different than any other child. So it's something that it's always bothered me, like I don't understand why people make those differences.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up because growing up in a even though I was not a biracial child, but we had colorism in my own family, and it would be things like my siblings who were lighter skinned and they had a different hair texture. I was told, growing up, oh, I wish your hair was like your sister's because her hair is better than yours and yours is so nappy.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
and
Very
and
nice.
and it's one of those things that I don't think that parents or aunties and uncles and cousins say that in a way to hurt you, but they just anything that they think about, they just blurt it out their
Mm,
mouth. And as a child, you
exactly.
start. I think it started to develop like a little bit of resentment against my own sibling.
Yeah, and it's normal. Like I said before, we grown up sometimes blur things out without thinking of the damage that we're inflicting on that little thing, walking around not thinking that, like in your case, nappy hair is whatever. You're not now. Before you didn't even care. Now you're thinking, oh, I have nappy hair, so now your focus is going to be on your hair.
Yeah.
No matter how much you straighten it, whatever, that thought always comes, and it creates insecurities.
Hmm.
And and this is the thing, I don't understand what's the need. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna go there. And what wait, you said something yesterday. Oh yeah, everybody move your toes, because I might step on some people's toes.
Yeah. Move your toes out the way.
I feel that people that say things like that, they know what they're saying.
Hmm.
They know that by being, by saying things like that, they're gonna hurt this child. Don't tell me they don't know, because they are grown-ups, and they're, if you say something to them, they get butt hurt. So they do know what they're saying.
Yeah.
What they don't stop and think is that if you say this to me now that I'm a grown-up, I'll be like, oh, okay, don't look at it. Who cares?
Yeah.
You don't like it? Hey, tough beans. I don't care. It's not your hair, so don't worry about it. Now, if you say this to a child, it's different,
Yeah.
because a baby doesn't know that, her hair is this, her hair is that, or that is different than your siblings, because you don't look at things like that growing up unless somebody brings them up to your attention. And of course, it's going to create that little resentment, because then you're going to be like, oh, so they like my sister more? Also, she's prettier than me. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Oh, that's why my mom does this for her more. And that's why my dad pays more attention to that sibling. And yeah, it creates those things, because the thought of that this person just did to you, that she put that thought in your head. Now you're going to be correlating everything that happens. If they give her more of this particular fruit and not you, you're going to start saying they like her better because of her hair.
Yeah.
And it can grow up into a trauma. And people don't understand this, that it is, it's a wound that even as you go and get treatment and you do whatever it is that you do, it stays there. It's a little scar that it doesn't hurt you anymore, but it's always there.
Yeah, and I have to say honestly, Nexie, I didn't even know that was one of the reasons why when I was younger, me and my middle sister always was like this, and I didn't know until I started going to therapy. When they started, my therapist started, asking me questions, and then
Hmm.
then one day I just said, "Oh, she just thinks she's better than me because her hair is better than mine,"
Mm.
and I just blurted it out, and they were like, "What do you mean?" And it went all the way back to when I was a little girl, and my
Hmm.
aunt said that to me. So
Exactly.
it was one of those, what they call it, repressed memories.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. And again, you say it to the child, but this child is not going to stay at 5, 6, or 7, or whenever age it is that you blur these things out. This child is going to grow up. And even if it's like you said, a regress memory, it's still there because it's something that it hurt you.
Yep.
In comparisons. And I know that a lot of our families do this a lot. They compare all the time. You should be as smart as your cousin. Oh, I wish this one was as smart as her cousin. I
Mm-hmm.
wish her grades were like hers, but I always have to be. And it's like, no, 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 stop, stop. I hope that as we move forward, and the generations, start learning that for a child, positivity, regardless of what you think of this little one, positivity will get you further in life than negativity will.
Yeah. And you know what, the whole thing about it is, I my whole life I didn't have, I felt like I didn't have an issue with my sister until my therapist was like, you got a big issue. I was like, no, I don't. They're like, yes, you do. And then when I started thinking about things like, oh, I don't want to go, like, I don't want to go to her house, I don't want to, she thinks she's all that. And my sister has never done anything to me. It's the things that
Hmm.
were put into my head, like she's smarter, she's better, she's prettier, her hair is nicer. People put those things in my head, and I pushed that in the back of my mind and started having those sort of complexes about myself and started thinking I'm not as nice as her because I don't look like she does.
Exactly. And it has nothing to do, because how can I put it? And we go through this all the time. It has nothing to do with you and your sister. It's
Mm-mm.
this person's insecurities that get passed
Mhm.
on to you.
Yeah,
That's what I learned.
yeah,
That's what I had to learn. That it wasn't about me. It's about this person's, or these people's image of themselves. They're projecting. So, by maybe they got criticized when they were younger. Maybe they
yeah,
have been compared all of their lives. So it's a natural or normal, so-called normal, for them to say things like this, and but as a child, you don't understand that it's not you, that is them the
yeah,
problem, not you. So, which is why I always tell people, be careful on what you say and do around kids.
yeah,
Treat them, the way you want them to treat somebody else, not you,
yeah,
because you're the parent, whatever. But if you don't want your child to be a bully, don't bully your child at home.
yeah,
If you don't want your child to have, those distorted, like, self-image, then
yeah.
don't criticize them. I've seen so many parents poke fun of their kids because they're, bigger than their cousins. Oh, that one is so much fatter than this one. Are they the same
Mhm.
age? Oh my God, look at this one. She's darker than her cousin too. She
Mhm.
looks like a little tubby, whatever. And they start making fun of these kids in front of them. And
Mhm.
they don't realize that, what they're creating, it's a very traumatized child later on,
Yep.
that is going to have issues, self-image issues, or maybe even, learning issues, because they're so in their head that they cannot sometimes learn. They don't
Mhm.
apply themselves. They can get depressed. All these things, we need to stop and think before we speak. I always
Yeah.
tell this to people: be careful on what you say. Don't think that because he or she is only 2 or 3 or 4 doesn't understand.
Yeah. And
They do.
and I have to say, I have to advocate because, as an adult, there's certain things that I hear and they think is funny. And I will say, and I don't care who it is in the family, I am going to be the person to speak up and say, no, don't talk about her or him like that. They're right there. I said, they're
Mm-hmm.
beautiful just how they are. There
Mm-hmm.
has to be somebody in the family to be like, No, don't do that. Do not treat that child that way. They're
Mm-hmm.
beautiful just how they are. And then I say, come here. You're beautiful. Don't let anybody tell you any different, or you're smart, or you're whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know it took me so many years to work on getting myself back to a normal, healthy thinking about myself, because of hearing that for years you're not as good, you don't look as nice, your hair is not this. It was always something like you feel like jabs at your self-esteem,
Of
not good
course.
enough, like till where your self-esteem is at zero. And it has to take some adults in the family that will speak up and say, you never talk to that my cousin, my sister, my whoever.
No,
Even
exactly.
if it's not your child, even if it's your friend's child, there has
Mm-hmm.
to be somebody to be like, no, don't talk to her like that or him
Mm-hmm.
like that. No, they're
Exactly.
intelligent. Stop that.
Yeah,
Somebody
and
has to do that, because some people think that it's funny, or, oh, like you said, they don't get it. They don't know what's going on,
they
and they
feel
do.
entitled. Yeah, they feel they're entitled to say whatever. And again, we're the adults. We are the grown-ups in this children's world, you know. And even when little kids are going against each other and they're, calling each other's names or whatever, bad names or whatever they're criticizing on each other, make them apologize to each other because they have heard this from somebody else. Kids
Yeah.
don't come with those, with prejudice. Kids come nice, clean, and pure. So if they are attacking each other or comparing each other or calling each other's, you know,
Names.
derogatory names or whatever it is that they're doing, you have to make sure that you know the root cause of this. Where he or she listening to these words? Why are they
Mhm.
repeating this? Or why is she calling her sister or her cousin this? Or her, or her a brother this? You have to make sure that whatever the root cause of this is, that you go and take care of it, because that's how we create, the doubts in the kids, eating disorders,
Yeah.
a lot of other things that we create on them because of the words that we say. Words are very, very powerful. If you use them correctly, you can create a genius and
Yeah.
a beautiful person. But if you use them correctly, you can create, the most sick in the head type of individual. So we have to be careful, when and you have to, it doesn't matter, like you say, who it is. You have to make sure that you interfere with that child, because you might be the only person he or
Yeah.
she has that can actually interfere, give him a little bit of self-esteem, and put whoever it is, doing this in their place, and
Yeah.
ask them to apologize to the child. A lot of
Yeah.
grown-ups think that because they're children, you don't have to apologize to them. Yes, you do.
And say, oh, they're just a kid.
No, apologize to them now. It's because they're children and that's how they learn. Words are powerful and they cut deeper than anything else you can think of,
Yeah.
without drawing blood or leaving a cut or leaving a bruise.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like I've been hearing it from I was a child, that words have the power to heal or to hurt. So it can be something to fortify that child
Mm-hmm.
at their core foundation, to be like, I can do anything, or a child to say, I can't do anything.
Yeah,
You
my
have a
father
choice on what direction they go.
my father used to say, words have the power to build or to destroy. And
Mhm.
it is a true statement. I never got it. I was like, what? I'm building a house now? Is that what you're saying? But they do have the power to do either or. It depends on what kind of, individual you want to throw into the world. It's up to you as a parent, as an auntie, to speak up for the ones that can't do it for themselves because they don't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
But those are traumas,
Yeah.
that not everybody works on. And then you
Yeah.
create this very angry or self-doubting,
Mhm.
or self-harming individual. You
Yeah.
have to remember whatever, what color doesn't matter. They
Doesn't.
can be purple, who cares? What matters is the cord, what you have inside.
Yeah.
Looks fade.
And that's why I've always said that I can say it was a thing like back in the day, and I know that it's still out there because some people are still in that feeling. But back in the day, it used to be where children were seen and not heard.
Mm-hmm.
So they were treated any kind of way, and it didn't matter. Like, oh, your aunts, cousins, whoever was stopping by would just say anything to a child, like, oh, like, talk about them right in front of them like they were invisible, but you heard that, and those things stayed with you your entire life. So I am definitely an advocate for children, and when I see certain things, I'm like, no, I don't care how old a family member will be. I am never going to accept it, and I'll even tell them, if you can't speak to this child right, you need to leave.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. It's, you want to, you want to deal, you want me to return those words back to you, then talk to me. Don't say anything to this child. But and people make fun in a certain, like, one time I remember, I heard someone, not for me, not for any one of my family members. I just heard this guy, he was waiting for the little boy's auntie, and
Hmm.
then he told the little boy, stay away from the shadows because you're so dark I couldn't even see you. And I'm like, what? From the shadows? What do you mean shadow? What shadow have to do with it? And I was like, shadow, you don't even know what you're saying. And I told him, I said, excuse you, did you just talk to the little boy like that? I said, what's wrong with you? And he just looked at me like, I'm like, shadow, you don't even know what you're talking about. I said, don't
Hmm.
talk to him like that. And his aunt said nothing.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know these people. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like, stay away from shadow. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and I have to tell you, Nexie, that that's something that back in the day where I didn't feel comfortable as a child saying the things that my aunt used to say to me. I didn't feel comfortable to go to my parents and say, Auntie said this about me, because, like I said, the things that were said to you, you just had to swallow it and just take it and learn to just, you had to be tough, and you had to pretend like whatever was happening wasn't happening. We used to like hide things, keep things secret, and all of those things, but it's not supposed to be that anymore. You have to speak to your children, cousins, aunties, siblings, whoever within your relative, even friends, friends that you have that you're close to and you're around those children. You also are in charge of pouring love into them and encouraging them. And it takes a whole community. It's not just parents that raise a child, it's a community of people that train the children to have that positive self-image and be aware of who they are, and tell them about their talents and not in comparison to anybody else.
Exactly. And some parents chime in too. They get together with the aunties and poke fun of the child as well.
Mhm.
And those things, we need to understand that we need to put ourselves in that little child's, shoes.
Yeah.
How would you feel if there's 2 to 3 people attacking the way you look, the way you are, the way you eat, the way you walk, the color of your skin, color of your eyes, the texture of your hair, like you said?
Yep, your
Like, you
weight.
you forget that you were that child and that you were wounded as well. But I've seen parents, joining the people that are making fun of the kid. And it's unacceptable.
Yep.
Things like this shouldn't happen anymore. We shouldn't be there anymore. And I don't understand why. It's something that we cannot break away from. And I don't understand what we need to do or how we're gonna be able to do this. Like,
Yeah.
I,
Well, I think the first step is first having conversations like this helps it, because then more and more people will be saying like, it's happening in my family too, or I know of some people that they're doing that. But there has to be more and more people that advocate and say we're not going to treat children differently because of how they look, how they talk, and especially I have to go in for a moment, especially about the children that have special needs. That's a very sensitive area for me,
Mm,
because I have a special needs family member that even though that they may get older, still mentally, they're
mm-hmm,
still going to always be this certain age. And I don't like when people be like, oh, yeah, they don't know anything, or they're stupid, or things like that.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, and another way to a good way to set me off and be on my hit list, call my family member retarded.
That cut
Call them
list comes
retarded
out.
and you'll see what happens.
You know that what bothers me the most, because my son is special needs, and a lot of times, sometimes you cannot go certain places because they don't like certain people, or they don't like the noise,
Mhm.
or they don't like the atmosphere, right? People want to bring these kids into their world, and I've told this to many people. No, 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 you have to go into their
Their
world.
world, yeah.
You don't make them. So I don't like when people tell me, just leave him at home.
Mhm.
I just call the sitter and go. I mean, he'll be fine. No, he won't. Especially right now, if he's having a bad day, or if he turned into a seal or a little wolf, and he wants me to cheer him on his howling, or
Yeah.
on his seal clappings. If he's,
Yep.
I cannot just leave him so that we can, because we don't do this anymore. You're always making excuses, always making everything about him, and you don't have fun anymore. No, 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 listen. When my son was diagnosed, everything became about him. Even before he was diagnosed, it was about him, but it became even more about him, because he doesn't understand the way you and I do. So
Yeah.
people that say things like that to me, first and foremost, I cut him off. Our
Yeah.
friendship ends at that point. Because if you don't understand the basics of a special needs child, or you don't have the compassion to put yourself in my shoes, and or my child's shoes, then you don't belong in my life. I
Exactly.
don't need anyone that doesn't understand that they are special. There's a reason why they're called special needs, Marlene.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're
Because they
special.
bring out something special in us.
They're special. They're special. You're not gonna make them come to your senses. Literally, like, people are, they when he started growing up, they will ask me, like, "Is he getting better?" I said, "I don't know. Either he's getting better, or I'm becoming special needs. I don't know which one it is, but I think he is getting better." And
Yeah.
that's the point, that you go down to their little world.
Yeah.
You cannot ask people to mistreat a child. And even though they're adults, like you said, they're older, and people think, okay, he's old already, or she's old already. You know what I mean? You don't have to baby her so much, or baby him so much. It doesn't matter. The age level in their little feelings and in their head, even they can be wicked smart, but their feelings and their head, they're still that little child.
Yeah.
They don't understand things like you and I. And I caught a couple of people calling their family member the retard,
Yeah.
or did you go, oh, there he comes, there's the yellow bus, isn't that your bus? And I'm like, you got, and they're laughing, and I'm like, what the heck is wrong with these people?
They think that it's acceptable, but in going back to the topic and talking about the biracial
Mm-hmm.
children, and 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 their treatment and acceptance of it, um a lot of times that the acceptance is not with the child. The acceptance has to be with the other adults. They're fine. the
Mm-hmm.
the, the children are always very open and very giving and loving, but it's the adults that need to fix themselves and work on themselves. Because I've even said sometimes, like, because of how I was raised and the things that I heard growing up, I have to say, no, that's not good. Don't think that way. Don't talk that. Uh, and I just have to apologize and, switch my mindset and thinking because we hear things for a long time. Like before, it used to be, oh, they think that they're better or their hair is prettier or they're better because they're lighter skin or they have this because, certain things that have to do with the color. And I'm like, this is crazy. This is
Yeah,
crazy. It makes no sense.
and yeah, and I was, it was the topic we're coming, and I was coming to that, is that I have noticed a lot of times that on certain conditions, right, which is why I was it took me a little bit to get there, but I noticed that a lot of people put it into, oh, it's a black thing, it happens to a lot of black people, or you know what, a lot of Latinos go through that. I noticed that a lot of so and so's are diagnosed with that condition. No, it has nothing to do with race or color or anything when it comes to, you know, special needs, hair texture, skin color. We are all different colors, all
Hmm.
different colors. Now, when it comes to interracial, right? You can be, I'm from, Central America, right?
Hmm.
In my country, we have very, very light skinned people with, green, blue eyes, blonde hair. We have very dark, dark people, like my father used to be very, rest in peace now. He was very dark skinned, whatever. They get married and there's no difference. They're not saying, why are you marrying the dark man? Or why are you marrying the
Hmm.
light skinned woman? It I didn't learn those things until here, until I came here. The differences of that, I over there, we just, you love somebody, you get married, that's it.
Yeah.
You know what
I
I
found
mean?
I found the same thing on next because my parents and some of my older siblings are Jamaican, and in Jamaica and other places in the Caribbean, I found that it has nothing to do with, they don't deal with, dating,
Racism. Mm-mm.
saying, racism and all of that. I feel like a lot of issues stems from just in the United States,
Mm.
just to be honest, that is just an American thing. That there's certain things that are projected from the entertainment world, from other people, from, even within your own race, that they make up certain things and they're projecting those ideas, and then people start believing it and accepting it as something that should be,
Yeah.
that's acceptable, and it never has been.
Yeah, and like, back home they can make fun of, like, of kids sometimes, if they have the little crooked legs, if they have, if they're a little short, whatever. But here is where I learned the color of your skin matters,
Hmm.
that there's a difference. And like, again, I grew up over there. We're all mixed up. There's no such a thing as segregation, or you don't talk to so and so, you don't marry so and so. It doesn't happen back home. So when I came here, it was a culture shock, because I was like, what do you mean you don't talk to so and so because they're black, or because they're Mexican, or because they're, Guatemalan, or whatever. I never knew that there was a difference,
Yeah.
until you come into, and I'm not bashing this, I love this country, but it's where you learn the differences, because back home we're all the same. We live in one country. Who we marry, it doesn't matter, as long as we love each other. It makes no difference to our parents who we're marrying, as long as we respect and love each other. But here, I had to learn that there's that you judge people by the color of their skin.
Yeah. Yeah. There's colorism everywhere, and I just feel that, there's certain, well, I think that our thoughts on certain things is based on how things were in your particular upbringing, your family unit. So because I've said it before here, I think it's a channel now that's only for members only. But I didn't know that I was actually black until I went to high school, not high school, first grade, because that was the first time somebody says, "Don't talk to me, you're black," and I was like, "I'm black." I didn't know that because in my household we were just, "You're just a girl." I was just a
Mm-hmm.
girl, or my brother was just a
You're
boy.
just the annoying little
I didn't
sister.
have we didn't have those conversations like you're black and you're this. We didn't talk like that. We don't talk like that in my culture.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You're just
Exactly.
a girl, and my brother's just a boy, and and I don't
And
know.
and again, it's the same thing. And you said something very important on the way the child is gonna be treated when you mix, right?
Hmm.
I like, again, I had no idea that that was a problem until I came here. That I saw
Hmm.
that certain family members, I'm not gonna go into where they're from, but certain family members were looking down upon the child of somebody because she was married to an African American.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? She's Hispanic, he's black, and the other daughter's children were being treated better than the other one. And it didn't, again, I came here when I was, in years old.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that connection is really bad when I say my age. But I didn't understand that people make those differences, especially when it comes to your own flesh and blood. Those were their grandchildren or their nieces and nephews. So when I heard that grandparents, you know, calling the other little child a certain name and then greeting the little light one with, "Oh, my baby's here," and then the other one, "Oh, you're here too, hi, hi, hi," whatever. And it I don't know, it made me feel very uncomfortable. It made me
Mhm.
feel very hurt, very uncomfortable. And I asked my friend, why. I said, I don't want to start anything, but I saw the difference. And she's like, "Yeah, I know. It's because, my husband is black and my parents were not very happy with my choice. And, my children get to pay, but that's okay. I'm happy."
Yeah.
And I was like, that is so weird. Like, we don't
Yeah.
treat our children like that back home. We don't care about color. They're just our grandkids or our nieces and nephews. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I got to see that, and I was younger then, and freshly, fresh in this country, so I had no idea. And you said something about the hair, and again, sometimes, around my people, you can hear say, "Oh my God, it's so hard to brush her hair compared to my other little one, that is so beautiful, her hair is so soft and so this and so that." And they're brushing the child's hair, and I'm looking at them like, "Are you kidding me?"
Mhm. And they're listening.
Of course, the baby's right there. You're brushing the baby's hair, and you're talking about how much easier and less products you have to use on your other grandchild. And I
Mhm.
and, I- and I always voice this. I'm always telling, "Are you kidding me right now?" That's my favorite word. "What do you mean? Are you kidding me right now? The child is in front of you. What's wrong with you?"
Very, and it gives so much issues. And there's a lot of things like I don't really go into that so much, but it puts a lot of self-esteem issues. It could be the reason why when that child grows up they get into having certain vices, alcoholism, drugs, yada yada, the list goes on, and they do things that are self-harming to themselves. But it wasn't just like myself until I didn't know I had certain issues. I thought I didn't have issues, but when
Mm-hmm.
I started to talk about certain things, and the way that I felt about certain people that I'm not getting along with, sometimes the reason why we aren't getting along with them is not because we choose that, but because of years of things that we've heard that has given
Mm-hmm.
us a complex,
People
and then
choosing for you.
yeah, they made that choice.
Uh-huh,
And
for you.
it's like, if you're not careful as a parent or a sister, auntie, cousin, whoever you are in children's lives, if you don't speak up and say, you know what, we're going to do something different.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I was raised that way doesn't mean that it was right. And that's something that I had to start doing as an adult, because I heard a lot of negative, derogatory things about other races growing up, but I didn't want to be like my past generations. There
Mm-hmm.
has to be somebody that has to speak up and say, no, don't do that. Don't talk about them that way. Or, no, they're beautiful, they're wonderful, they're smart, they're intelligent. You know, there has to be some adults to do that.
Yeah, there has to be an adult to break the toxic cycle. You know, another thing, Marlene, I was just remembering about this family that I'm telling you. I was there one Christmas, and they bought, you know, those I don't know if you remember those babies that you used to give them liquids and they will go, they had the
Yeah.
little diapers. Okay.
Yeah.
One Christmas, they had four grandchildren, and only my friend was the one that had, you know, her husband was black and the rest were married to I don't know what, but because I was just friends with her and it was a new friendship. You know, she invited me over for Christmas, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna stop by really quick, you know, because I have to go and do my thing with my family. They were opening Christmas presents, and they gave each and every one of the girls one of those little, I don't know what they call those little dolls, right?
Mm-hmm.
They bought three light skins and one dark skin for the little, for my friend's child.
Mm.
So there were three white little dolls and one black little doll. And they opened the dolls, and my friend's daughter is looking at her baby and everybody else's that is different than hers. My heart broke. And I told my friend, I said, you know what? If I was you, I will grab that doll, give it back to your parents, and tell them, you know what? No, thank you. Just keep it. And don't ever do that to my child again, because she was looking at her little cousins with their little babies, and she noticed that the color was different. She didn't know what they were doing to her, how they were putting her down. But I was so mad at her parents, and I told them, I said, you guys are sick.
Mm-hmm.
And I never got
You know what I
invited there.
what we have done, because we have various races within our family. We bought all the same race
Of
of
course.
dolls. Yeah, all the
Yeah.
same race, regardless of what the child looks like.
But
It does
that,
not
but
matter.
exactly, but that show you how ignorant these people are. How how much they discriminate against my friend's family. She has like four kids now, I think. Yeah, four kids. They moved, you know, I don't remember. I think they moved to Arkansas or Kentucky, somewhere over there for her husband's job about probably like 10 years ago. But I think they added like two more kids. But yeah, they used to make these differences on the children. And I will tell my friend, like, because my friend wouldn't say anything. And I would always ask her, why don't you say anything? And one day she finally answered. She goes, because it doesn't make a difference, Nexie. I've said it before all the time. I've complained. Don't treat my child like that. And they do it more on purpose, like to teach me a lesson. Like saying, you chose that, so we're going to bother you, because a lot of, people do things like that. And
Yeah.
so, but the little girl, her face when she got the doll, she was excited until she saw that her little cousins were not like hers.
Mm-hmm.
It was so sad to see that, because if if you're already discriminating on this child already at the early age of 3 or 4 years old, imagine how she's gonna feel moving forward.
Yeah. Yep, and that's why, like things like that, because there is that too within my family, and there's certain people that I have chosen that I just don't go around, because I don't want to be a part of how they treat other ones in the family. I won't be a part of it because it will be a big major problem. And they will say things like, "Oh, you always start stuff." I says, "No, I don't start things, but I will finish
I will
it."
fix them. I don't break them, but I will fix them. But
Yeah.
that's, you see, until we need to speak up. If we see something wrong, we don't need to be disrespectful, Marlene. We don't
No.
have to. We can have a civil conversation with someone that is making a mistake.
Hmm.
We don't have to be disrespectful. Messages get, passed on and received better when you have, serious conversations without insults, without anything.
Yeah.
And the best way that I have uh, dealt with things like this is asking them, how would you feel if I would start, saying that, your left eye looks a little bit more lower than the right one? It does? No,
Hmm.
I'm saying, how would you feel if I will say that? Uncomfortable. Then, if you will feel uncomfortable and start looking at yourself in the mirror, look, you just went to the mirror and started looking at yourself. How would you feel? You have to put yourself in the child's little head. They don't have any malice. Children are pure.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? They're pure at heart. They don't know. They don't come with the little manual saying, "Oh, because you're mixed, you're gonna be treated this way by your own grandparents, by your own aunties, by your own cousins, right?"
Hmm.
And these behaviors are learned.
Yeah.
So
There, and it has to be somebody to speak up. I'm sorry to cut you off,
no, no,
Nexie,
go
but I
ahead,
just
Marty. Go
wanted
ahead.
to highlight this comment from Lulu's treasure trove. She says, "My daddy's sister married an African American, and so my first cousins is biracial, and I love him as much as I love any of my other cousins." So
Exactly.
it's not supposed to be any different, but unfortunately there are some that you're never going to change them. That's the way that they're actually going to be. They're going to be negative, they're going to be racist, they're going to make their comments. But that's one of the things that I have personally, in certain one some of my relatives, we choose to not allow ourselves to be around that individual. If we're going to do something together, we don't invite them just because. And when they asked why wasn't I invited, I said because of the way that you treat your nieces or your nephews. Like, they'll call one of them and be like, "Hey, come over here," and give all of them hugs and kisses.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the little boys, they won't hug and kiss them at all.
Mm-hmm. uh, I've seen that too. I've
Yeah.
seen that too, Marlene. I'm telling you. As I started, like, because when I witnessed all of this is when I first came, right? And you know how it is when you're shocked on something, you're like, what? That's what's happening, because you don't know what's happening. So you start seeing it on more and more people. That's how you learn on how people discriminate, how
Yeah.
people belittle others because of their looks or whatever. But what they don't understand is that maybe this little one that you're criticizing so much, that you're putting down because it's not as light as your other grandkids, or it's not as according to you as cute as your other, maybe this is going to be the one that is going to be taking you to the doctor appointments when you get older, and those light ones that you love so much maybe are not going to be around you because you're so negative. I'm sorry, I just have to say it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen in my very own family. The ones that they put on they want this one
Pedestal.
that they put on the pedestal and think that they're so wonderful.
Uh-huh.
They're terrible
Yes.
human beings. They're terrible. And the ones that they have thrown away is the kindest
Yep.
person. So it has nothing to do with how the color of a person. It's their personality, it's their character, their integrity. That's what should count.
Exactly. The the funny thing is that we don't and even going through things like that, they still don't learn, Marlene. They still behave in the same way. they still like treating the one that is so rude and disrespectful or doesn't care about them,
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my God, this is, and that the ones that are there and always helping you, they still discriminate against. So
Yeah.
people like that never learn. So what I do when I come across people like that and I don't like their behavior or whatever, I cut the friendship. If it's family or friend, doesn't matter. It's done. I'm done. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
be. If you guys don't get it, then I'm not gonna be making myself, miserable because of you guys, because I don't believe in that.
Yeah, making other people feel uncomfortable just because of your issues or whatever it is that you have. And all it is that a lot of people, they have this hatred, and the hatred stems from they hate themselves.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So they don't want to face that, maybe in your personal past, people have said things to you mean and hurtful and past judgments on you, and they're harboring that. So then they put that on to whatever child, whether it be, within their family or a friend or whoever, because of what happened to them. And that's why I always speak all the time about resolving your past, resolving your traumas, because if you don't, you're going to put it on the next child, not really because you want to, but because you haven't come to terms with it.
Exactly. And a lot of times, I don't even. I think that they don't even know
Mm-hmm.
what they're like, that they're doing this. They don't even grasp the fact that they're being, racist, or they're discriminating against. I don't even, I don't think that they know
Mm-hmm.
that that's what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like, because I've seen people that feel that this is like a normal thing to do, and I'm like, no, that's not normal. What you're doing is, that's discrimination. You're hurting that child. You're causing a lot of future trauma in that little child's head because of your actions. Oh, no, no, it's okay. It's just a child. No, exactly, because it's just a child now. You're creating doubt on the on in their minds.
Mm-hmm.
They So you have to be careful, and people like that, like I said, I try to stay away from people that are negative, that are
Yeah,
always looking at others just because of how they look,
exactly.
because I
I
don't
do too.
think that way.
I do too. And I want to highlight something while it's in my mind, and that's honestly, a lot of times there's different treatment for biracial children than children that are, just one race, primarily how they look. So you do have to pay attention to the children, whether it be your children, whether it be your siblings, but you have to advocate, because sometimes within the school system, they discriminate against, your children based on how they look, not based on, what they have inside their intellectual abilities. So that's something that you have to pay attention as a parent, grandparent, aunt, uncle, cousin. You have to be more hands on. You can't expect the listen to what the school tells you, because even the school sometimes will say, oh, there's something wrong with the child and this and that, and what it is it's the way the teacher is treating them, that they're getting a different treatment than they give to other children.
Exactly. But again, it's when it comes to certain schools and stuff like that. You can voice it, right? You can say whatever. They may not take it into consideration. It may not change, but the control you have within your family, that's where the change has to come from.
Hmm.
That's when you have to put a stop to things like that.
Yeah.
Um, a lot
Yeah, I
of
wanted
people.
to
Uh-huh.
I just wanted to add this before you go into your thought, Nexie, that, my dad was an advocate for in the school system for things like how I was treated versus the way my sister was treated, because we weren't that far apart in age. So as a parent, you have to advocate for your child within the school system.
Hmm.
And you have to speak up, like, don't listen to what a teacher says, because you know your child. You know your child, you know your grandchild, cousin, other people. And if they're saying things like, no, I don't think it's this way, it could be the teacher. So my father actually had to go into the school and get me changed to get me a different teacher, because that teacher was treating me a different way because of my skin color than of my other classmates.
Really? Oh my God, I'm so sorry, Marlene.
Yeah, things were different, back in the 80s and the 90s. It was like that area where they couldn't be racist, but they still, some of them still were. So they would do things like in the class, and oh, and let me help you with this problem, and then I would be there, like I would have my hand raised for help too, and she would get to everybody, and she would wait like the last 5 minutes of class for me.
Oh,
And of course, I couldn't get everything. And then she would say, okay, everybody, do your homework. I'll see you tomorrow.
oh my
So, of
God.
course, then she would say, oh, you're always behind, Marlene. You're always behind. But I wasn't getting the same help. So I had to tell my father what was happening. And then I got a different teacher and things turned around.
Isn't that so ignorant? You're a teacher.
Yeah.
You should be colorblind. So I'm
Yeah.
saying we all
But
should be
it wasn't
colorblind.
that way. It wasn't that way. It wasn't
I'm
that way.
so
And I'm
sorry.
not saying that it's something that happens all the time, but I'm glad that I had a father that was like, "What?" And he was like, "Are you sure, baby?" Because as when you're a parent, like, I don't know about, and you don't want to bring it up if
Mm-hmm.
but you ask certain questions to the teacher, like, how long do you spend with Marlene on her assignment? Yeah. And he says, I'm not going to intrude, but I want to come and observe one day, how she's being treated within the classroom.
Oh,
Yeah.
when did it change for you, or you had to change
No,
teachers, right?
but she didn't know when he was going to come. He didn't give a specific date. He just popped up.
Oh,
And then he
smart
saw,
daddy.
yeah, and that's my daddy. And then he was like, oh, yeah, she's out of here. Yep.
And things like that, they're still happening. I'm sure they're still happening, and they make fault on the child. You know what I mean? The child is falling behind, but why is the child falling behind?
And that's what they said. They said Marlene's not keeping up with her assignments. And what she was trying to do is get me to fail that grade.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is that the saddest thing is that with social media, Marlene, we get to see that more and more
Yeah.
than we used to before. But at the same time, it's a good thing because we can talk about things like that more and more than before. You
Yeah.
know, people, like I said, they focus too much on the color of your skin, the race, country.
Mm-hmm.
Who cares? Focus on the way that person is,
Yes.
the manners, the uh good morals, or whatever it is they want to focus on, those things,
Their
not on the
character.
color of their character, not on the color of their skin. That doesn't do anything for you.
Yeah.
You
And
know
the
what I
one,
mean?
and like you said, Nexie, and the ones that they put on this pedestal, that they're so amazing and special and all of these things, those are the ones that are usually not that good of a person. So I feel like this was a very important topic, and I really thank you for being a part of it. And if you have any parting words.
No, again, only that I wish we were all colorblind. Let's keep in
Mhm.
mind that children, are pure little souls. Their brain and their heart, they're pure, pure, pure. And whatever we give, whatever we teach them, is exactly what they're going to learn. So if we treat them with respect, kindness, and not make any differences, they're going to grow up to be pure at heart and soul, and they're
Yeah.
going to treat the next person the same way they've been treated. So let's be kind to children. Let's be mindful of what we say around them, what we do around them.
Mhm.
Let's teach them good things, and make sure that you always tell them how important, how beautiful, how smart, and how important they are. That's all.
Yeah, I feel like this is amazing to talk about. We a lot of times people don't want to have conversations like this because it's kind of uncomfortable to talk about, biracial children, the product of an interracial relationship. But I wanted to talk about it just to say that all communities, whatever your race is important. And I am not going to leave those who are biracial behind. Every single person, whether white, black, whatever your race and nationality is, you are valid and important. And all of the babies, all the children, I love all of them. And
Okay.
we have to do more of pouring love into them and guarding them and protecting them from foolishness and things that other people will project onto them to give them fears and worries and doubts and inhibitions in the future.
Exactly, Marlene. That's exactly what it is. We have to keep in mind that, you know, the color of our skin is not what define us, or what's going to define that child.
Mhm.
Is a good upbringing and a lot of love that is going to make a difference in this child's life. So we got to treat all the children the best that we can, because
Yes.
they're going to grow up into a healthier adult if we do it that way, if we work since they're little. Thank you for having me, Marlene.
Yes. Thank you so much, Nexi. And thank you to everybody who is in the chat and those of you who are watching in the replay gang. Thank you so much. Leave a comment in the comment section below if you know of somebody that has been treated in an inferior way as being a biracial child. Thank you so much, Nexi.
Thank you for coming, everybody. Thank you, Marlene.
Bye, guys. And like I always say over here on Marlene Motivates, just know it, just breathe it, and be it, and live your best life. I'll see you guys on Sunday for the Motivated podcast. Bye bye, guys.
Be encouraged, be inspired, be yourself, you will survive. Just know it, just breathe it, and be it, and live your best life.
Forgive me, I love me. I've been blessed
made it through. I'm stronger and worthy. I am enough now. What about you? I forgive me. I love me. I've been blessed that I have made it through. I'm stronger and worthy. I am enough now. What about you? Ooh, hey, yeah.